to have you back.
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
You know, we think about all these devices that can fail. A lot of times we think about hard drives, external hard drives, or maybe the hard drive. But there's other devices out there that can fail. What are we talking about?
Yeah, you know, you can lose data from a mobile device. Like I took my phone swimming a few weeks ago.
How'd that work out?
Well, it worked out well because I was able to recover all the data from the phone, even though it was bad. You know, I did the whole bag of rice thing, and it wasn't reliable, but it was reliable enough that with my data recovery equipment, I could get my data out. And I was going to try to fix it, so I set it in a sack beside a trash can, which probably wasn't the wisest place to put it, and it got thrown away.
Oh boy!
Yeah, it got thrown in the trash, and I'm like, no, it's a $700 phone. I was going to try to fix it, let my kid play with it or something. Oh well. But I have a new phone, and so I was able to recover all the data from a phone, for example. We've recovered iPhones, we've recovered Android devices, and even camera cards. I had a photographer that came in who shot a wedding, and the bride and groom reveal pictures were on a camera card that failed. One of the memory cells in the camera card failed. It was sent out to Drive Savers, which is a big national recovery company. They do a lot. They have a lot of government contracts, things like that. They probably could have got those lowest learner emails back if they would have ever seen the hard drives. But nevertheless, they sent them this camera card, and then they couldn't do it. We were able to recover the pictures.
You could do it here.
From them. Yeah.
So you could do something locally, which we would typically think, boy, this is a huge job. I better send it off to a lab someplace else. You can solve the problem right here.
You know, we have the same equipment that they have, and they have the same kind of training and engineers that we have. Our attitude when it comes to computer problems, it kind of translates from our computer repair over to our data recovery. If there's a problem in front of you, what are the customer's options? Here are your options. We can not recover the data, or we can go through these steps and maybe recover most of the data. Okay, well, when Drive Savers saw this card, they said, this memory cell is bad. There's no recovering the data from the memory cell. They didn't stop to think, well, there's 4 memory cells in the card. So we could recover data from the other 3 and get, who knows which pictures are where. Maybe we can get something back. And sure enough, we were able to get the important pictures back.
Save something from
It's
that wedding.
local. You don't have to ship it off. How does the pricing compare to the out-of-state companies?
Oh, it's double.
Oh gosh, because your stuff is double. I'm like, because my husband was out of town on business, and there was in the Carolinas or someplace, and what they wanted to charge him to get stuff off of his laptop was amazing. The number was astronomical.
Yeah, well, data recoveries at Schrock start at $400. That's the entry point. That's when a customer drops it off, we say be prepared to spend at least $400 for a recovery, or don't drop it off. And some people make the decision there, hey, it's not worth $400. Some people have us evaluate it. We don't charge for the evaluation. So then when we call you back and say we evaluated the device, here's the problem that it's having, and here's what it's going to take to fix it, here's the cost, then you can make a go, no-go decision before we do any work and before you're committed to any money.
You're out any dollars at all.
It's not like it's $50, $100 to do these recovery of data. Is it because it's so labor intensive, it takes so much time to do these data recoveries?
Or it's so specialized.
It is specialized, and sometimes it is labor intensive, but that's the challenge of data recovery. No 2 recoveries are identical. Everybody wants, why can't you just put it on your data recovery machine and just suck the data off of it like through a straw or something, and then put it on another drive? Why do I have to pay, $1,000 for this or $800 for that? Every recovery is different, and sometimes we're dealing with physical damage like scoring, or as the lowest learner hard drives were reportedly scratched. That's called rotational scoring in the industry. So if they were rotationally scored, some of the data can't be recovered. Most of it can. If you have a hard drive or something like that, for example, I recovered a Creative Labs Zen MP3 player. Haven't seen one of those for years. Had a bad battery too, but we recovered, the guy's computer crashed and his hard drive failed. And he was looking at a $1,900 data recovery for the hard drive. And so we stepped back and said, well, the main thing you're concerned about is music. Do you happen to have the music stored anywhere else? Well, I have this old MP3 player that had it all on there, but I haven't used that thing in a while and the battery's shot. Bring that in. It turns out to recover the data from that was a couple $100 versus $1,900. So we try to find solutions for people in situations, when we have a Mac that got the hard drive died, and they had a time machine backup, but they stored the time machine backup on the internal hard drive.
Oh, no.
So the main data and the backup were on the same hard drive.
So the purpose.
When the hard drive died, they lost it, and there was rotational scoring, so we could not recover the original data, but we were able to recover the time machine backup.
What types of data are we recovering here? You've mentioned photographs, you've mentioned music. What do you see most? What are people, Because in some cases, this stuff can be priceless.
Yeah, in many cases, we're looking for photos, especially photos of children and family events and deceased loved ones, things like that. A lot of times, basically there's two categories. There's the business category, and then there's the consumer category. And in the consumer category, it's mostly photos and videos and things like that. In the business category, it's QuickBooks, Peachtree. My business is at a standstill because I can't invoice or collect payments on anything because my hard drive crashed. And those are rush situations where we're trying to get a very specific file back, but we have to recover the entire device to see if we can get the specific file.
And for our viewers who are at this point where a device, whether it was a phone or a tablet or a PC, whatever it is, and they need to get data recovered, what do they do to start that process with Schrock Innovations?
Gotcha. Well, you just drop it off. You can drop it at any of our 3 service centers, Omaha, Lincoln, or Papillion. Our data recovery lab is in Omaha, so if you do drop it off at one of the others, it gets transferred to Omaha. We evaluate the device. I've got 3 new ones this morning I'll be evaluating with my staff over there to let the customers know what the recovery cost is. And the biggest stumbling block to any data recovery is the cost. Everybody wants the data back, but it's a question of, 1, do I have the money to pay for it? And 2, is it worth that much money to pay for it?
How badly do you want that data?
And so basically what we tell our customers, we give them the quote, and they may say sometimes, hey, I can't do that right now. I just can't afford it. Tell you what, let me pack this up. Let me put it in a static bag, put it in a nice packed box. Don't try to turn the drive on again because it's not going to work. It's just going to get worse. But this way, who knows what scratch-off ticket you're going to get next week? You may win the lottery, or something may happen, and you can then afford this, or you can save toward it. But put it in a box and put it in the closet. It's not going anywhere.
Will any damage be done to that device if you just set it aside for a year or 2?
Not a thing. So if you can't do the recovery now, just sit on it for a while, and you can do the recovery later.
Let's show you some information about how to get in touch with Schrock Innovations in these 3 locations right here in our area. Thor, while we're looking at this, a quick word about warning signs that a hard drive's about to fail. Is there one way to know for sure before it happens?
The computer won't boot.
Okay,
Thor. That's when it has failed. Before it fails, you're going to see a decreased computer speed. You're going to hear some noises in some cases, like scratching sounds or clicking sounds that are louder or more than normal, more than you would normally hear from the computer.
So stop use at that point?
Yes, stop
using it
at that point.
And get it in before you lose the data.
And as always, we recommend a preventative maintenance checkup every 6 months, because if we can catch a hard drive recovery right when it starts, we don't have to send it to data recovery. We can handle it with regular technicians.
Preventative maintenance check is how much?
It's $79.99.
$79, so peace of mind.
Less, that's not hundreds.
Yes, it is much cheaper than a data recovery.
Thank you, Thor. It's always great to have you here.